Hey, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining the Fourth Ward CLT meeting. March is going to be fun. Isn't it nice to have the daylight, another hour of daylight going on? If the weather catches up, it'll be super. I'll get to it quickly because we have a lot to cover. Last month, half of your board participated in a city-sponsored neighborhood retreat. Shirley found that opportunity. The meeting was interesting. I think the follow-up was even better than the actual meeting. John, if you want to cue up the first screen share.
You might want to go to the top right-hand corner of your screen and click on speaker view. Anyone that's listening, that's for everybody. Right-hand corner view, click on speaker view.
Okay, let's just start there real quick. So we asked a lot of questions for our hosts. Some they were able to answer and some they came back and followed up with. The Quality of Life Explorer is something that's put together by three organizations, the city, the county, and a group sponsored by UNCC. There's 80 different fields, more than 80 different fields. They're divided into 9 categories. We're not going to get into it. Later this week, we'll email or put on Facebook the link to fourthwardclt.org, our website, where you can see the full report. The meeting started with a map of the Fourth Ward, and this was of some interest. John, could you move to the next one, please? So the Fourth Ward is outlined in purple, and it's kind of interesting because when the city first presented, they had a vision that we were just the historic Fourth Ward, pretty much just going up to Graham. But no, it extends well beyond Graham, and it includes the cemetery, Elmwood Pinewood Cemetery, and the land adjoining the cemetery. They identified the area where, let's call it the Holiday Home Tour footprint. That they identified as the historic district. And we're one of only 5 neighborhoods in the entire city that enjoys that distinction. So I think we're going to work hard and look forward to leverage that distinction to the benefit of our merchants, our neighbors, and our community. John, could you flip to the next one real quick? I don't know if you can make this bigger. There were 2 stats that jumped out at me. And again, this is 2015 and 2017 area. The first is the age of residents. Our median age in the Fourth Ward is 33 years old. The column to the right is how we compare to the county. So we're an incredibly young neighborhood. It's just extraordinary. The other thing that jumped out at me was the racial diversity in the neighborhood. We're not quite as diverse as the rest of the county, but we're about 62% white and 38% people we have Latino, Latinx, Black community, Asian community, Native Americans. So it's wonderful stuff. We will update this as soon as the 2020 census data is shared with us. That should be forthcoming. The city and the county are going to format that. Moving on, I just want to remind everyone that the garden tour, the secret gardens of the Fourth Ward, is scheduled for May 22 and May 23. Keep your fingers crossed. The planning is proceeding. Let's hope for good weather, and let's hope for ever improving pandemic conditions. I am very proud of how our committees have stepped up and engaged with neighbors. They're working hard and delivering some exciting programming. Please take advantage of the programs that are being offered. A lot of news on our Facebook presence and also at fourthwardclt.org. And I'm really excited to welcome a little bit later in the evening, Kristen Blinson, who is the president and CEO of Hope Haven, an organization that we supported last year. And it'll be great to get a report from her. And Kristen has agreed to answer some questions. At that point, I want to turn it over to Chris and VK. Chris, keep an eye on your watch. We want to keep this at about 8 minutes, please.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
VK, you want to go first?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, you know, other than the incidents that were mentioned earlier, it's honestly been fairly quiet in Fourth Ward. But I do want to talk about 3 incidents that occurred over the weekend. So there was a robbery call that went out at Gateway Village at the 7-Eleven, where 2 people went into the Gateway 7-Eleven, and the male forced his way behind the counter and started grabbing cigarettes and tossing them to the female. We've yet to identify those people, but we have a good lead. We were able to identify the vehicle that we think they're driving, and we also were able to tie them to a series of similar incidents. One which occurred in Matthews, and another that occurred at the Walgreens on South Boulevard. So I have confidence that it won't be long before we get those 2 people into custody. Another incident was commercial burglary. It was upgraded to a commercial burglary at the Circle K on North Grand, because the gentleman who came into the store and forced his way behind the counter without a weapon, mind you, he had been previously banned. So therefore it turns into a commercial burglary at that point. He started grabbing cigarettes as well, and he walked out. We were able to identify him based on video footage, and we were able to sign warrants on him. So more than likely won't be long before we get him into custody as well. And the last one I want to talk about is a fight or a public affray call that went out at the Music Factory over the weekend. It was a little bit of drama behind that, because it started at the Music Factory and it ended up on 7th and Smith Street by the pub, the corner pub there. So there was a lot of police activity right there on Graham Street. And I just wanted you guys to know that it basically was just a fight over at the Music Factory. Nobody was charged and no arrests were made on that. So if you saw a bunch of police lights on Friday night, that's what that was all about. Also, the last thing I want to touch on is I want to make sure that you all know that you have access to www.cmped.org, which is our website. And on that website, you can get the quarterly stats of crime stats for the whole department. And you can also find and locate crime areas and crime mapping for any area that you want to find out some information on. It's pretty self-explanatory on that website. And you can also find some great safety tips that we touched on briefly at the beginning of the meeting or before the meeting started. That's all I really wanted to talk about today. The larceny from auto numbers are very low for the neighborhood year to date, so hopefully it'll stay that way. And if anyone has any questions for me or Chris, feel free.
VK, can you tell us about the traffic checkpoint that went up a few weeks ago on a Friday night? Because we were really, really, really happy about that.
Okay. So
like ecstatic.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, myself and 4 other officers, actually it was 7 officers altogether, but 3 of us were coordinators, and 4 other shift officers decided to do some traffic operations along Church Street on a Friday night, just to kind of get an idea what was going on out there. We were able to issue some citations, 13 citations to be exact, and 3 written warnings as well that were unrelated to speed. While we were out there, we were able to get some good speed readings, and the highest speed that we encountered that night was 41 miles per hour. And it was interesting because everyone we stopped, we made a point to ask them if they were aware of what the speed limit was along Church Street, and every single person thought it was 35 miles per hour. And we all know, well, we should know that anytime you're driving uptown, it's 25 miles per hour. So that was interesting, and we may need to do a little bit of education as far as that goes. But yeah, we'll be doing another operation sometime in the near future. We don't want to announce when. We kind of want to make it a surprise.
Well, that's great, because a lot of people, we posted about the speed trap, and I'll use that term. We like the word speed trap because we posted about it, and there's a lot of good feedback about it. It actually benefits us to get somewhat of a reputation as being a speed trap, because we will enjoy the benefits of it, because it'll actually make people slow down when they come through our neighborhood. As you know, when you go down to the beach, everybody pretty much knows Anson County is one big speed trap, so they slow down when they're going down through Ansonville or Anson County, because it's got their reputation. So we want to have that same reputation Some people think it's a bad thing, but actually for our purposes, it actually benefits our neighborhood. So we want to create the reputation. And to that purpose, what I've done on a few Thursday and Fridays is I've put out on social media with some of the help from the other board members that pictures of the officers from a few weeks ago pointing radars and stopping people. I put that out on social media, Nextdoor, Instagram, on our Facebook page, my own Facebook page. I would like to enlist or ask other members to do the same, or if you see that post on social media, to please like it and share it. We want everybody outside of Fourth Ward to think that when they come into Fourth Ward, it's like crawling with police and it's like a speed trap, and don't speed and don't blow through stop signs and don't drunk drive and all that other stuff that goes with it. So please do put up that post. If you see the post, share it, like it, tell your friends. I've even got, I can't say I've asked them to do it, but there's some very enterprising people in my building at Florida North Church who have gotten onto Waze. And if you know about Waze, it's kind of like Facebook for driving. What they do is when they go on Waze, they'll put in reports of police officers at certain locations, which, it may not be true, but who are we to judge? So we're not encouraging you to put false information out there, but some people have done that, and who knows, it can benefit us, and we may not tell them to stop. So if you see, if you're on Waze and you happen to accidentally hit the hidden officer button, you don't be in a big hurry to fix it. So that's it. And if you do see those, Shirley's got a question.
Yes, we have a question from Karen. Can I ask about the metered parking spots? Why do so many have no parking hats on them for seemingly no reason? It seems to have taken away about 20% or so of the spots to use to go to a restaurant in the evening.
That's a great question. I would have to get with my contact over at Parkit to find out more information on that for you, and I'll be happy to do that and then get back to you directly with that answer.
Thanks, VK. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, VK. Thanks, everyone.
I've got one more neighborhood security related note.
Actually, really quick, Captain Koch, are you here? If so, is there anything you wanted to say?
Yeah. Hey, good evening, everybody. I can attest to the parking, at least on 6th Street. They have bagged those because they're going to be putting in the bike lanes there. But I just want to thank you all for allowing us to join you. And listen, the way that we police in not only Charlotte, but particularly within the center city, is really dictated by our residents and our community members. And your feedback is instrumental in allowing us and giving us direction in what it is that you guys want to see. So really appreciate that. I know VK has done a phenomenal job. I'm very, very appreciative of the work and dedication that he's really driven. So thank you all very much. I just wanted to say that. So, and I am at home. This is my kids' artwork in the background. This is not my my office here, but so anyway, thank you all very much. I really appreciate the opportunity that you give us every month.
Thanks, Captain Koch. One other notice, and I don't think I'm spilling the beans on this, but Chief Jennings of CMPD has agreed to join us at the next community meeting, April 19th. We don't know yet whether that'll be another Zoom event or it'll be indoors. But Chief, I hope nothing storms over that day and pulls you away from our group. We're really looking forward to having you with us.
Yeah, I promise you, I spoke to the chief this morning about that. He's really excited about the opportunity. So excellent news, and he'll really be looking forward to that. So thank you all very much.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Haley, can we see your smiling face, please?
Yes, you should be able to see my smile.
Yay, there's Haley.
Yeah, hi guys. So I see that we also have our spokespuppy Murray on Chris's camera. If you want to say hi Murray. So yeah, I was just gonna give a quick update to everybody for the dog park. All right, sharing my screen. So this is the latest rendering of our potential dog park. So our update from the Parks Department is that this is going out to bid later this month, and they're hoping to start demolition and the construction for the park in the next month, hoping to be done this summer. But when we get a more concrete timeline, I will definitely keep everybody updated. But for now, this is what we are hoping to have by this summer, with a large dog park area and then a smaller dog area with a little plaza with gates to each of the different park areas, bag stations, trash cans, the work. So it'll be really, really lovely. And we're really thankful to the Parks Department for their work on this and looking forward to having this in the neighborhood. And in the meantime, we are doing dog meetups. So they are currently every week at Thursday at 5:30 at the 4th Ward Park. But we have sent out a survey. So if you guys will look in your email from this meeting, there's a link to a survey that is just asking, different locations, days, times that would be best for dog meetups. So I'd love to get neighborhood feedback and be able to get all the dog owners together at a time that works best for everybody's schedule. So if you don't mind filling out that survey this week, that would be awesome. And like I said, I will provide more updates as we get more concrete dates and updates on the dog park.
Haley, I don't know if you noticed, but Karen brought her dog up to view too. Anybody else want to share your dog?
That's fun.
Oh, there we go. Melissa's cat.
Yay.
We love all the four-legged neighbors, the cats and the dogs.
Hi, Haley, one question. Has the city, or excuse me, the county already approved the dog park, and it's just a question of when it's going to be done?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Haley. Shirley, are you
Yes.
ready to introduce Kristen?
I am, and I noticed that Kristen is here. I just made you a co-host, Kristen, that you can share your screen if you have slides. But I would like to introduce Kristen Kelly Blenson. She's president and CEO of Hope Haven. She took on the role July 1st, 2020. Before that, she served at the Charlotte Rescue Mission, and first as director of development and then vice president and COO. Under her leadership, they developed new relationships with partners who helped launch Community Matters Cafe, a new social enterprise and life skills program in Uptown Charlotte. Kristen's early career was as a public school teacher. It shaped her passion for working with people who experience the systematic inequities of race, socioeconomic status, and educational opportunity. And that passion informed her volunteerism as well, teaching English as a second language to immigrants, tutoring adults in GED readiness program, and leading mission teams to Bolivia. Kristen has a bachelor's degree from Davidson College, a master's degree from Middlebury College. She's a certified fundraising professional, and she's married with 5 children, 5 grandchildren, and a service dog in training named Champ. And we would like to introduce Kristen Blenson and welcome her tonight.
Hey.
Thank you. I wish I had my dog with me. He's gone off for some more training. So let's hope he's more of a service dog and less of a crazy puppy when he comes home. So we'll see about that. Walter, thank you so much for inviting me to be here tonight. I am still relatively new here at Hope Haven. I think I'm allowed to say that for a year. That's my rule. So I'm still in this first 6 or 7 months here. And I know that your organization made a really generous gift to Hope Haven last year. And so just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you for that, share a few updates from my end, and certainly answer any questions that you might have. So thank you for that. And I have to admit, I watched Delilah for the first time this weekend. So immediately recognized 4th Ward in those scenes. And I kept pausing my TV going, oh, I know where that is. I know where that is. So really fun to see that great press about Uptown Charlotte and about your neighborhood. And I told Walter, my husband and I are huge fans of your neighborhood. We don't live there, but we've attended the holiday home tours many, many years. And of course, Alexander Michaels is always a favorite spot. So I'm sure like you, we're all looking forward to some return to normal life at the end of COVID. I know we're seeing a little light at the end of the tunnel here, and so I hope you're all feeling that as well. So I want to be a little mindful of your time. I'm not going to give you too much of a big speech here about Hope Haven, but I'm just going to give you kind of hit the highlights of who we are and what we do, and then I'm happy to take any questions. So as Shirley mentioned, I'd worked at Charlotte Rescue Mission for about the last decade, which is just on the other side of your neighborhood in 3rd Ward. And so as a partner in this community, Charlotte Rescue Mission refers a lot of people to Hope Haven. And so I thought I knew Hope Haven pretty well. But getting in here, I have learned so many cool things that Hope Haven does that I just had no idea about. So the official kind of elevator speech is that we are really an aftercare housing provider for folks who have struggled with homelessness, poverty, substance use, and a whole host of other challenges that are in that mix there. You know, difficulty finding jobs, criminal backgrounds, education, all of that. We serve about 300 people a year. We have men, women, and children on our campus here on North Tryon. So if you head out of the city on North Tryon, we're about 2 miles out on the left-hand side in an old motel building, and it still kind of looks like a motel. It's got that look and feel. And we've converted all of that into single room occupancy and also into apartment style housing. 100% of the people we serve are living below the poverty line when they come to us. About 3/4 have experienced actual homelessness. The rest have certainly had housing insecurity and food insecurity. All are in the early stages of recovery from substance use disorder. The other thing I'm coming to understand is that about 65% have co-occurring mental health diagnoses, and over 70% have co-occurring chronic illnesses that also kind of factor into this entire picture of health and wellness that we're trying to address. So everything from diabetes to high blood pressure, lung disease, heart disease. And so we're really on a whole kind of health and wellness initiative this year as we climb and scratch our way out of COVID. That's something that our team here is really excited about, getting people back outdoors, having more of a focus on exercise and healthy eating, and just all of the ways that all of these things contribute to our overall health. So I'm going to just share 3 quick facts about, or 3 quick things about Hope Haven that I didn't know when I got here. And like I said, I thought I knew it all. So it's been really fun to discover some things. So number 1, we are licensed as a therapeutic community by the Department of Health and Human Services. And I had no idea what that was when I got here. So I've done a lot of reading and learning about it. And I just have fallen in love with this model of care. A therapeutic community says basically that people get well in community, that we don't get well in isolation. And I think this year with COVID has probably taught us that more than anything. So in a therapeutic community, we have the ability not just to do counseling in 1-hour blocks once a week or twice a week. We have the ability to use everything in our environment as a counseling, coaching, learning opportunity. And so because our residents live here 24/7 and we're staffed 24/7, really everything we do kind of has this therapeutic purpose. And so a lot of what we get to watch is people kind of learning how to live again, learning how to live without using substances and what it feels like to get back on their feet and try to work. And they hit all the same hurdles that we all hit at work. We have bad days, right? We have a boss who says something mean to us. We get in a fight with our spouse on the way out the door. They get to sort of experience all the stressors of everyday life, but do that in a setting where we can be forgiving of mistakes, and we can really look at everything as a learning opportunity. So we like to say here that success depends very much on your relationship to failure. And so we talk a lot about how making mistakes are just an awesome, awesome learning opportunity. So number 1 is that therapeutic community model. Number 2, I always knew that Hope Haven had women and children, and so we call that a families program. What I didn't know is that Hope Haven also accepts families with both parents which is pretty unusual, and we can house them together. And we take single dads with kids. And I can't think of another place in the city that does that. And it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. We had a young man who had his first day at Hope Haven on my first day at Hope Haven, and I've watched him and his 3 little boys just grow and progress. And I can't have a bad day around here because all I need to do is just take a walk outside and watch the kids on the playground and watch the parents interacting. So that's been a really neat thing here. Number 3, we're actually a recovery court partner. I didn't know a whole lot about recovery courts when I got here, but Mecklenburg County is one of very few counties in the state that has an entirely different path through the justice system for nonviolent offenders who have crimes related to their substance use. So really taking this incredibly progressive approach to say that treatment is better than incarceration. And they go through an entirely separate court. They have separate judges, separate lawyers, and the judges have all kinds of ranges of ways to kind of deal with those folks. And one of them is to send them to a place like this. And so when they come here, they are really surrounded by all kinds of extra case management from the judicial system. And so we have at any given time at least 15 people here. Many of them are families because the judges are trying to avoid families being separated by incarceration. So we see very typically that a mom or a dad who has some drug-related charges will choose to come here with their kids and go through that intensive process. It's a very, very tough road with the court system. It's very rigorous. They're back in front of that judge once a week with a lot of accountability. And so when they complete that process, those charges are actually expunged from their record. So they're highly motivated to do that. And I think it's just a really neat thing that we get to be a part of. Like everybody else, we're climbing out of COVID here. We have had kind of a steady stream of positive cases since December. We actually just cleared a big hurdle last week. We had our first 2-week stretch with no new cases here. So we are just celebrating and grateful to feel a little bit of relief as we figure out how to try to get everybody vaccinated and get our community back to some sort of normalcy. I wanted to talk just a little bit about the gift that your group made to us and just how important that is to an organization like this. We receive about half of our annual funding from Cardinal Health Innovations. We are considered a mental health provider, and Cardinal kind of has some funding from the government that comes into agencies like ours that work in the mental health space. And then the rest of our funding is very much reliant on community support. So grants and individual donations and all of that kind of stuff. And as you can imagine, last year was a difficult one for a lot of organizations, but it was fantastic to watch the community rally and just know that we were able to put those gifts to good use. Hope Haven, we never stopped admitting new clients during COVID. And I wasn't here at the time when that decision was made, but I am so proud of this team and just so humbled by that dedication that even in those early months when everything was so scary and everything shut down, this team kept coming to work, kept admitting new clients, and figured out, just like all of us, how to adapt and do things a little differently and still get the work done. So I'm grateful to you guys. And I would just be happy to take any questions that you might have. I'm wondering a little bit what your experience has been living so close to uptown Charlotte with the tent city and kind of some maybe a little more proximity with people experiencing homelessness than we've all had before. So I'm happy to address any of that or talk about that with you.
I had a question about Hope Haven. I'm also a member of Women's Impact Fund, and we have donated to Hope Haven. Can you talk just a little bit about the entrepreneurial things you're doing, the laundromat, the catering, those sort of things you train people?
Thank you for asking that. That didn't make my top 3 list, and maybe it should have. So the other really neat thing about Hope Haven is that we have several business enterprises under our umbrella. And so those business enterprises offer a way for our residents to engage in some job training programs. And I'm kind of looking for a new word for that, because I think when we say job training, people think about hard skills. And what I'm learning is it's really so much about soft skills. So we have a commercial laundry service, which is not doing a lot of business right now in COVID. They used to do a lot of event business, so like all the linens and things from, you know, weddings and event companies. We have a catering business. We have a food truck, and our catering business has really expanded actually and grown during COVID because they pivoted, and instead of doing small events and parties, we've been mass producing meals for other agencies that for whatever reason don't want to run their own kitchens. So we run thousands of meals out of this place every day, and it offers our residents a chance to kind of get back on their feet, remember what it feels like to work, to have accountability. We put them through an incredible curriculum that was actually designed by several partners across the state. Goodwill was one of them. The curriculum is called Working Smart. And so they go through a module of, you know, 16 different soft skills that you need in the workplace. And then once they kind of finish that, then we walk with them while they're seeking work out in the community. I'm also really proud of our residents. They've continued to find jobs, even in this economy. Most of them lost their jobs the second COVID hit. You know, as you might imagine, they were working in, you know, food service and retail and warehouses, and they were kind of the first ones laid off, and they all got back on their feet, got jobs again very quickly. And so most have continued to be able to work while they're here. So yeah, so it's a really, and we're looking to expand a little bit. We've got a few other opportunities in the works to expand that, that catering company. So stay tuned. We may have some other ways that you'll see us in the community with that. And we do have a food truck, which was broken down and not running for a couple of years, and it's back up and running. So if your neighborhood ever has a party and wants the Hope Haven food truck, keep us in mind.
We have another question. Aside from financial contributions, what can we do to help the work at Hope Haven?
Thank you. Great question. So in normal times, volunteers are very much the backbone of this place. We have not been open to volunteers for several months now, and we're thinking about how to scale that back in safe ways. I personally think volunteerism is going to look really different, and I'm actually okay with it. Places like this and places like Charlotte Rescue Mission always used to do a lot of, you know, big groups coming in to serve a meal kind of thing. And I just think we're not going to do that in this climate. But what that means is we're going to be looking for maybe more individualized, smaller groups, more controlled settings. And so I think there's a good opportunity for not only some ways to interact with residents, to come in and do things that are impactful for them, but also do projects and things that are outdoors. And, you know, we're always landscaping, we're always painting, we're always cleaning, we're always doing, we call it a room flip, but it's like an extreme home makeover. Every couple of years, the rooms need a redesign. And so we're really looking for good ways for folks to come back on site and have them feel safe and have them feel like they're not being exposed. And I guess the other thing I would just mention is just awareness. You know, one of the reasons I love to speak to groups like yours is I think it just helps us all when we know about the resources that are in our community. And I want people to know we're here, and I want people to know, as you're engaging in the community, if you come across folks who are struggling with substance use, there is a whole path that exists in our community that they can go from detox to treatment to a place like this, and that path, you know, can really give them the time they need to get back on their feet. So just that awareness is great. Thank you.
Anyone else with a question for Kristen?
Hey, Walter, Jim.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, first of all, this is for Kristen. Hi, Kristen. Nice
Hi.
to meet you.
Nice to meet
Um,
you too.
So I have a question for you. I actually just texted it to you, but it really could apply to several people, not just me. I live in the center of the Fourth Ward, across the street from Harris Teeter and the park. And I'm looking for a co-walker,
Hmm.
daily, short, I'm a little slow, 70 years old. And I just, want somebody to, for maybe 30 minutes to just go for walks, kind of get me started.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a whole lot more. It's a whole lot more fun when you have a buddy, right?
oh, it sure is. It's like in theory, get a walking, machine and walk, in my extra bedroom for 30 minutes. But it's way more fun, especially spring coming here, to be, outside with walking with somebody, subject to COVID protocols.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me think on that a little bit. We do have a few people here who are not working or not seeking work because they might be on disability or some other circumstances like that. And so I wonder if there's somebody here. We do like when our residents are not working, we do ask that they volunteer in the community too. So that might be a solution there. So let me think on that a little bit. And if I think of an idea, I will communicate back through Walter. Yeah, Shirley?
So we have another question. I think you spoke about it briefly, but do you help those with mental illness combined with substance abuse?
Absolutely. The link between those two things is so inextricable. It's so hard to even figure out sometimes which came first. Over 65% of our people have a dually diagnosed mental health condition. And I think, as I learn more about this and as I watch and learn and listen to stories, I see so often that their substance use actually began as an attempt to self-medicate for mental health. It is incredibly difficult for people without resources to access good mental health care. And if any of you have had experience in your own life or with families, it can just take so long to get the right combination of medication and therapy and all the things you need. And if you don't have access to that, sometimes the best thing people can figure out is, to overdrink or over rely on, Xanax or different substances like that. And so we absolutely do. We also have a pretty liberal policy on what medications we allow here. So some places won't admit people that are on certain medications for mental health. We try not to ever let that be a barrier. So really try to work with folks on that. And we do have a nurse and, trained counselors and all that. So I think the only place we would draw a line is if we felt like there was somebody that was unsafe for our community. So if we saw somebody that was really having trouble regulating temper and behavior and things, but yeah, we do a lot of work with mental health here.
Thank you, Kristen, so much. That was a wonderful overview of Hope Haven.
Thanks, Walter. Thank you for letting me join.
This is Bill McNamara. I put a question in the chat. I don't know if anybody saw it.
Sorry, I'm really bad at talking and reading chats at the same time. So
we're all Zoom novices. Maybe we have our rookie year behind us, but we'll keep going. My question was about 12-step groups, and I thought they used to meet up there, and obviously COVID prevented that. Have they started discussions on resuming 12-step group meetings?
Yeah, great question. So we are a 12-step model here. So both AA and NA meetings. We used to have some open meetings here that were open to the community. Since COVID, they've all been closed meetings of less than 10 people. So we've tried to keep the spirit of that going, although our residents are really starting to complain. They're going a little crazy listening to each other all the time, and they're really missing people from the community coming in. Right now, because of our COVID status, we are just about to reopen to outside speakers coming in. That's it. So not attendees necessarily, but like one speaker who might come in and share with the group. Hopefully the day will come in the next few months where we're able to reopen and make some public meetings. We have a a conference center. Because this is an old motel, we have this huge conference center in the back of our property. So we've got great meeting space. We're able to social distance. So just trying to keep everybody healthy for.
If
people-
somebody might qualify to volunteer to be a speaker, do they
Yeah.
contact you guys?
Absolutely. Contact me directly and I'll put you in touch with the right person. Walter's got my email information, but absolutely. And the other thing is we do like for our residents to have sponsors out in the community. And again, that's been really hard with COVID. So as we start to open back up and allow sponsors back in, I'm sure there'll be a real need for connecting with folks in the recovery community.
And
Thank you.
we have,
Thank you,
I've been
Bill.
wondering about that. Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
we have
Great question.
another question. How does Hope Haven handle transitioning graduates to affordable housing?
That is the #1 struggle on my to-do list right now. So in theory, we are graduating people who are working living wage jobs. That's always our goal. They are stable and healthy, really able to get back out there and actually able to afford to rent somewhere. The problem that we're encountering is there are so few places available at those more affordable levels. And then even when they are available, our folks tend to get knocked out the second someone does a credit check or a criminal background check. So we are in the process, we've actually formed a whole team here made up of some staff members and board members who are starting to look into all sorts of creative solutions, because our end goal is permanent housing, and permanent housing that they can manage and pay for. Maybe they need a little on-ramp, maybe they need a little subsidy at the beginning, but our hope is that we're removing people from that kind of housing first pipeline in the community, and these folks will not need subsidy forever. They just need a chance. So that's something we're really working on.
Thanks again, Kristen. Really, really appreciate you being here and sharing your mission with us.
Yeah, thank you again for your support. We are grateful to you guys, and if there's anything we can ever do or help your neighborhood with, we're happy to do that. I know, Walter, you mentioned to me that you've got a community awareness committee you're trying to get off the ground, and so I would be happy to just serve as a resource when and if that committee gets off the ground. If you know, as you guys are getting to know the other partners in the community, I can make introductions and share information and kind of help explain the continuum of services that exists out there. So just feel free to use me in any way you can. I'm happy to do it.
Thanks so much, Kristen, for offering that expertise. Appreciate it. Shirley, we'll move to you. Are you ready to get all of us involved?
I am, and give me just a moment to share my screen. So you may want to know, how can I get more involved? Do you want to meet more neighbors? Do you want to make an impact in your community? And Kristen just referenced one of those ways to do that. But we have committees that need volunteers. So if you'll look at the list, we need volunteers in Parks and Dog Park Committee, and you can contact Haley for more information. We have a new Community Arts Committee, which is really fascinating. That's going to be fun. And you would contact Haley if you're interested in that also. Social. Jasmine has not stopped scheduling events. We have things coming up. She's going to tell us about it in a few minutes. But if you would like to volunteer for social events or planning them as we move from Zoom to socially distant to back to normal at some point, that would be Jasmine, social at fourthwardclt.org. Partnerships. And John has talked a little bit about that, and I believe in the next month or so we'll get to hear more details, but reaching out to the business community. If you are interested in that, getting to know your business neighbors, then contact John. Partnerships at fourthwardclt.org. And membership, we have a membership committee, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. the two available board positions right now, and we're not just going to put butts in seats. We're trying to reflect the demographics of our neighborhood. So we're trying to take our time and help move our board to look more like our neighborhood. And then we're also filling focus areas that we need, things that we need the person on the board to take responsibility for. One of those is the community awareness chair. And I'm just going to read it. It will help focus on issues and topics, neighborhood demographics, social equity, homelessness, and there will also be a connection with the city council and keeping us abreast of current issues. So we have a couple of people we're talking to, but if you listen to Kristen tonight and this was an area that just speaks to your heart, then if you could please get in touch with Walter, and that's president at fourthwardclt.org, and express your interest. And then the membership chair. So this board chair reaches out to our multifamily buildings and also leads a committee that reaches out to individuals and families in the single family houses in our neighborhood. That's another great way to be able to reach out and meet your neighbors. If you're interested in either one of these board positions, then contact Walter. And the last slide, we need volunteers, and you will hear these announcements throughout the meeting and upcoming neighborhood meetings, excuse me, but green team events, park cleanup events, the garden tour is coming. We need people that are skilled in QuickBooks. And so if I haven't already given you their email and you have a general question or you don't know who to talk to, then send it to our general communications at fourthwardclt.org, and we will pass it along to the right person. But we need you, and we love everyone that wants to become more involved in the neighborhood. Turn off my screen share. So next on the agenda is Kristen Whitty with the Green Team. I didn't spot you earlier, Kristen. Are you here? And I'm just going to check. Sharon, do you see Kristen Whitty? And it doesn't look like she's here. So just a brief announcement about the Green Team. If you look on the website, fourthwardclt.org, on the events page, you will see that we have scheduled quarterly Green Team cleanups. They've also started an educational series. I believe the first one is this Thursday. Go to Facebook and you'll see the event. And it's a speaker on compost, and any other members of that team that wants to jump in and help me with this. But that'll be the first of the Green Team's educational series. So watch social media and also your email announcements for the times and the dates of these volunteer events. And now Jasmine to social committee.
Hey guys, I'm going to share my screen. And Shirley did a great kind of segue for me into talking about our committee and needing more support. But before I get started, I want to say, Kristen, thank you for that wonderful presentation. It was something that, I think all of us wonder about, and, kind of the same thing we're talking about here. How do we get more involved? And so we're really excited. And as being social chair, I am all about getting a food truck. So I will be in touch. So for starters, if you guys don't know me, I'm Jasmine Wazani. I'm the social chair and board member here for Fourth Ward CLT. And you can email me at social@fourthwardclt.org. And one of the things that we heard as very common through all of the conversations was community. So we did not plan this. I totally built this on my own. And it was really great, though, to hear all of these different conversations and how it impacts and touches on community. And, I think there is a misconception about social being just socializing. But one of the things that Kristen touched on, which I love, I'd never heard of therapeutic community. But if you haven't seen the blog post that I did for Fourth Ward CLT, it talks about socializing while socially distant and how important that is to your well-being. If you don't know, I work for a healthcare company. And so our biggest objective is answering the question, how healthy can a population be? And so in my mind, for, just our community, what can we do to gather and be a true community? So one of the things that I want to bring up is some stats, because that's who I am. I'm a numbers nerd. So last time that we did a survey, kind of getting interest, wanting to know who wants to get involved, we had about 95 survey responses. And out of that group, 76, almost 77% ranked social as number one. So that's approximately 73 individuals out there that had said, yes, social is something that we need to get back on top of. And from that, I also had a list of about 15 volunteers. So 15 out of 73, we're getting there, but we totally understand social is number one, but you may not have the time to volunteer. But we only had 3 people when I reached out actually submit to volunteer. So that's only 20% of those 15 individuals. And there's a little bit more than 44 people on this call. I think it's dropped down some. I changed the number. I was trying to change it as we moved along. But we have a community of approximately 6,000 neighbors. So I think one thing I want to make sure that everybody understands is we're not asking for 40 hours a week. We all have day jobs and totally understand that, but we want to meet you where you're at, and that may be an hour a week, it could be an hour a month. And so any support that we can get, or that I can get, especially for this committee, would be awesome. Couple things, I will put the link in the chat, but we do have our first upcoming social committee meeting. And I do say first because I did reach out and didn't get a whole lot of feedback. So I wanted to send it out again and hopefully get some more involvement. So if you don't know, I'm a tech nerd as well. So if you have your phone, you see a QR code right here on the right-hand side of the screen. That just takes you to the social committee questionnaire. It's only 10 questions and just a little bit for me to learn more about you. So how you feel you could help in a volunteer aspect for social committee. Some more things about you, as Shirley said, the demographic of our community is very important, and wanting to make sure that we have a wide range of, families and corporate people and retirees, whatever you want to approach. So if you haven't taken a screenshot of this, go ahead. I'm going to move on, but I'll put the link in the chat as well. One thing I wanted to point out is all of this is also on our Fourth Ward CLT website. So we do have a calendar. So step one is go to the calendar link. It's right under events. You can click on calendar and this calendar will pop up. Step two, you'll be able to hover on top of, if there's an event, you can see it, or you can click on it and drill down and it'll take you to more details about the event, the Zoom information. I think I heard somebody mention that, getting together with a walking group. So we actually have a morning walking group Monday through Friday at 8:30 a.m. So if you want support, if you just want to talk to your neighbors and walk, now, the walk is approximately 3 miles. I don't think you have to hang in there the whole time, but I think it's a great community aspect. One thing, though, that I additionally learned for all of you that are tech savvy is there is this subscribe button at the bottom of the calendar. And when you click on that, there's a number of things that you can click on, and you'll see that on the step 3. I have an Apple phone, so I just click subscribe and add to Apple Calendar. And what this did is it blended my personal calendar with the neighborhood, the Fourth Ward CLT calendar. So this is something really important to me because if you can see, I'm sharing my personal calendar here with some work stuff on it. It's crazy. And so what I have to do is I have to live by a calendar. And so if you see the dark blue at the top, the dark blue at the bottom, those are the ones that merged from the Fourth Ward CLT calendar. One thing as well, since we all have busy days, and I know that some of you are like me and probably work more than 40 hours a week, I always need a reminder. So what I've set up is something called Remind 101. Again, get your phone out. You can text at FWSOCIAL at Fourth Ward Social to the number 81010. And you'll get text reminders. You don't have to tell me who you are. You don't have to provide me with your phone number. It is all housed within this, and you'll only receive messages from me, nothing ads, anything like that. And I like to send out reminders. For those of you that are already signed up, received one yesterday saying, hey, just a reminder, there's a neighborhood meeting tomorrow. And who doesn't want a reminder? If you don't have a smartphone, there's a number of ways that you could do this. Again, I'll put the link in the chat if you want it. You can sign up with your email. You can do it via text, or if you do have a smartphone and you want push notifications, you can see on the left-hand side, it says how to do that. You can download the app, and there's a number of ways that you can do that. So one of the first things that we put together, and again, this was something that there were a lot of minds and people, individuals that helped put this together, but it's Fourth Ward Fit. So kind of going back to some of the things that Kristen had mentioned is really looking at well-being and wellness from a number of perspectives. And that's what, I do in my work life. And so I'd like to bring that to the community. So we're starting out with the physical aspect of it. So on Tuesdays at 6 and Wednesdays at 12. It's only 30 minutes. Sometimes it actually gets done quicker, but it's really nice because you saw how crazy my calendar is. I block off for that little time at lunch and I'll jump in there and do a quick, get some cardio. It's a lot of fun. Chaz is amazing. He's a personal trainer for Charlotte Athletic Club. And he's offering this to our community for free. So I really want to take advantage of that. I don't want to lose this. I also have a survey out there as well. If there's additional times that you're looking for, if these don't really fit your schedule, feel free to email me or fill out the survey. And then we're also looking to add some of those other aspects. So again, I think I talked about it before, reaching out to a therapist to get mental health as well approached. And there's a number of things. Going back to the conversation about the survey, there was a lot of feedback and different options, and we're listening. We hear you. There was a lot of great things, not just kind of the fitness cardio aspect, but maybe some yoga in the park. We're still having to follow the guidelines of the CDC and of the governor, of course. So we're limited, but we're not limited virtually. So take advantage. One of the last things that I wanted to bring up is the March Porch Pop-In. So if you're not aware, the last Friday of every month, we have a Porch Pop-In. And so because of COVID, we've kind of chosen to do this in a more larger public area versus physically on somebody's porch. But it's actually really cool. So 400 North Church Street Courtyard is our next Porch Pop-In. And that's March 26th at 6 p.m. And as Walter mentioned, I'm sure everybody's enjoying the sunshine, staying around a little bit longer so you can get some nice sunshine. It'll be still daylight around 6. And it does say here, rain or shine. And if you go back to the calendar when you get the opportunity, there's actually a Zoom link there, because if it rains, we don't want to cancel. We want to give everybody the opportunity to join virtually. The last couple of things I wanted to point out are just more about some of the community aspects that keep getting brought up to me already. And this is why I need you guys to get involved. One is the park. So You know, the park is something that Haley has mentioned as a huge proponent of our community, and there's the dog park coming up, but there's a lot of young families in the neighborhood, I being one of them. If you look on the right hand side, this is our 4th Ward Park and our playground, and that's my little one, Kennedy, on the right hand side. And it's not a very exciting playground, I'll be honest. And so there's a lot that we want to do, but we have to get more people involved. And if you look on the left-hand side, that's me actually swinging on the swing at Irwin Academy Playground. It is fun. Look at all the bright colors. Kennedy loves it. It is a little bit of a driving distance. And when I say driving distance, I think it's like maybe 4 or 5 blocks down, but when you have a little one, it's not conducive to walking. So there's a lot that we can do. Again, my call, my ask is just to get you guys involved and to support. And the last thing is, if you guys are aware, we're down the street from the BB&T ballpark. So this Saturday, they're actually doing kind of the first game. Baseball is back. And for those of you that are Charlotte 49er alum, myself included, they will be hosting our first game. They're going to be socially distanced. There's, you know, definitely regulations that they put in place. So tickets are limited. And I just wanted to advertise this because one of the things that I think is important from a social aspect is getting the entire community involved. So I think that's all I have. I know that was a lot. Like I said, I'll put some of those links in the questionnaire, but I hope I've enticed you guys enough to volunteer, get involved, fill out the questionnaire. And like I said, our first meeting is coming up next Monday. Thank you.
Thanks, Jasmine. Great job. I'm going to pitch it for Kevin Aniston, our treasurer, who's out west. I have very little to report on the treasurer side. The big news is that the board voted to transition to a fiscal year as opposed to our traditional calendar year. That builds a better bridge before outgoing boards and incoming boards. The new fiscal year will commence September 1, ending August 31st. So that's the news. Keep your fingers crossed for the garden tour so we can start generating some tour related revenue. We need the money. We haven't had tours since 2019. So keep your fingers crossed. Chief Jennings, next April 19th, that should be good fun. And the quality of life recap from the city of Charlotte should be posted later on our website, maybe toward the end of the week or the beginning of early next week. But there's some good data there and it should be fun for you. And Jim, I see you up there. One last thing, the walking group that Jasmine mentioned meets literally below your balcony on the corner of 6th and Pine. It couldn't be handier. And they walk up to the cemetery. Shirley?
We have a question for Jasmine. Are we meeting anywhere specific for UNCC game Saturday? And then I believe there's a safety question also.
So I wasn't planning on meeting anywhere specific, but I would love to. That was definitely a call to, hey, let's get involved in the community. But if you guys want to all go as a group, I've already got my tickets purchased, but email me and then I'll also send something out. And if you sign up for the text reminders, I can say, hey, let's meet up at XYZ. So absolutely, I'd love to do that.
And Chris, I believe there was a safety question.
Yes, Eileen had asked about some of the loud noise from cars that we hear, some of the traffic we hear in the last couple of weeks, loud mufflers, loud music, and I hear it as well. I think you can't help but hear it. It's pretty obnoxious. However, legally, the police have a tough hill to climb in enforcing that because the statute about mufflers and the statute about the city code about unreasonable noise is full of very vague words like unreasonable and excessive and unusual noise. So it's very hard to enforce. They pretty much have to catch the person then and there and make an assessment, is it unreasonable? And then proving that in court is another uphill climb. So the short answer to that question is I don't know what the solution to that is, but it is something that we could look into. It would be not as easy to enforce as, let's say, a speeding ticket, where speeding tickets are pretty much the person's doing 40, the speed limit is 25, they get a ticket, end of day. There's a lot of subjectivity to the noise ordinance, which we have to figure out a way to get overcome. So the short answer is, yeah, it's a big problem. We are going to work on it, but there's not going to be an easy answer.
Thanks, Chris.
That wraps up our questions. That's it. That's all the questions.
Great. You want to continue, or should we just adjourn the meeting and people go out and have some fun? Thank you, everyone, for participating. I really, really appreciate it. Eileen, that was a great question. See you for the next community meeting somewhere, either Zoom or in person, on April 19th. Keep in mind, the third Monday going forward. Good night, everyone. Thank you.